everybody. So earlier I noticed out of the blue that one of my acros was bleaching a little. So just one branch is a little white. This morning it wasn't like that. This afternoon I was like, ah! So it's Halloween night, so I couldn't do anything immediately because my son is obsessed with Halloween, as every kid should be. So we got some normalcy in our life and went door to door and picked up candy bags. That's what our neighborhood decided. We're in a pretty small neighborhood, so each family just put together a little bag full of candy for each kid to come and pick up. So that's what we did, and everybody was dressed up and waved to each other across the street from each other, and it was a lot of fun. But in the meantime, in the back of my head, I'm like, oh my god, my acros are dying, my corals are dying, I'm just abandoning my pets. So now that I'm home, I came in and did some testing and stuff. Have the phosphorus, so my phosphorus Hannah checker, I have the parts per billion one, set 34. So I had a 34 on here, which you multiply by 3.066 and divide by 1,000 to go from phosphorus, your total amount of phosphorus parts per billion, to the total amount of phosphate parts per million, which is what we care about. So there's a little bit of conversion that has to go on, but nothing terrible. So that put me up to 0.1 on phosphate. And phosphate is something that I've never been able to get down. I don't know that 0.1 is going to be what the issue is with my acro. My nitrates are at between 10 and 25, is about where they normally are. So I'm going to do my GFO and my carbon reactors, get them back running, and track phosphate to make sure it's not still going up and make sure it doesn't bottom out too much. Only took them out last week, but I'm wondering if there's something else going on, which is why I'm also going to go ahead and put my carbon back in, so that way it can pull out any toxins that might be going on. I'll probably, yeah. So one of the things that I have to look up every single time I do this is the order of the sponges in my reactors. So what I'm going to do today is record them, mainly for me so I can go back and watch and see what I've done before, so I can make sure I keep doing it the same way. And also in case anybody else who might just be starting out, if y'all have any questions about how this is done. So hope that it's helpful. We shall see. Alright, so this is what I use to test my nitrates. So put that out of here, but I like the Salifert test. I've used Red Sea, and the Salifert test to me isn't as involved. It's pretty easy. You only have 1 milliliter of water. You don't have to dilute it, and my nitrates tend to be between 10 and 25, so it's a good test for me. It's right in that range. So I have these two reactors from BRS. I went for the nicer black ones because I'm precious apparently, and I want things to look a certain way. So these reactors, last time I used them, I tried to scrub them with some Mr. Clean Magic erasers, but this one didn't come as clean as the other one. You'll see in a second. I actually might scrub those a little bit. So one of the issues is it's hard for me to get my hand down in here. It would be really nice if someone would put these on a stick so you could scrub it a little bit easier that way. I do have these tongs that you've probably seen me use before that I can use to try and get in there a little bit, but still it's kind of hard to get any pressure on there. But I'm going to see if I can get that cleaned out a little bit more. I'm not sure that it matters or not. The nice thing about the Mr. Clean Magic erasers, just the original ones, they have no chemicals in them. They're just micro abrasive, as I know from my dear friend Mr. Seth, my son likes to call him. So it's just a micro abrasive chemical in here. So no chemicals, it's just something really tiny that you can use to break up all the particles. It's coming out a little bit. Not sure if you can tell, there's a little bit less algae in there, but not seeing anything major at the moment. So might end up having to soak these in some citric acid. I just ordered some during the BRS. I just ordered some citric acid during the BRS customer service week. Hopefully I get something thrown in a box. I haven't gotten those boxes in yet. Fingers crossed. So I was trying to come up with some things I needed to buy. That was one of those things that I need some of that would be nice to have on hand. So I'll think might get lucky. Alright, I'm going to rinse it out really well. And again, people take those magic erasers and put them directly into the tank to clean off some of the coralline and algae, and so it's not like I'm worried if anything gets in the tank. I'm just hoping to get some more of the algae and coralline off. So I can get down in here a little bit, so let's see if I can see what it's doing. So you can hear it. It sounds like it's like scraping really intensely. Not sure if you can see it coming off or not. So just getting a little bit more of the coralline off. I'm not sure if it even matters if I get these things off. Like, maybe it's a good thing to have the algae and coralline in here. That might be something that's worth experimenting with. I have wondered, since I'm using these because I have high nutrients, that maybe allowing the coralline and algae to stay in there, that maybe perhaps they'll help pull out some of the nutrients also. Makes sense, but I also want to make sure that it doesn't get gunked up so that water continues to be able to flow through it. All right. Clean it up. So the way I like to do this, so here's my second one. So you can see that the last time I scrubbed this one, it came, I did a much better job getting it clean. So there's not nearly as much algae and coralline built up in this. So I don't know why one is easier to clean than the other, but it's the way it is. All right, so what I like to do is not put a sponge on the bottom, and maybe this is part of my problem. I like to not put a sponge on the bottom for the GFO, but I'm going to do it this time just so I can show y'all how it's technically supposed to be set up. So I normally like to double up my sponges with my carbon, but perhaps I should just buy some more sponges. Alright, so we've got the sponge down in there. And the GFO, so I've never had to increase it past the minimum amount it says to use. It says to avoid shock to livestock, start with 1 tablespoon per 8 gallons of system water tank. So I use the bulk resupply GFO. I got the small container. I've been using it since June. You see how little bit I've used. I think I got the small container because the bigger containers were sold out at the time. So no particular reason why I got a small container of this and a big container of this, other than that's what they had. And this is the ROX 0.8 carbon. I know some people complain about how expensive it is to go this higher level, and I have a smaller tank, I get it. But I've been using this since June. You can see it's still almost completely full. And I'll put the price down at the bottom somewhere so y'all know how much I spent. It cost this much. Cost this much. But I change it every 2 weeks, and the first time I've taken it out of my tank was last week. So I'm hoping that that's what the acro is not happy about. But yeah, this is easily going to last me more than maybe 2 years, 3 years. In 6 months I've used this much. The 60-gallon tank. I do have a lot of volume in my sump, so I do the math for 70 gallons of water. My sump is rated for a 125-gallon tank, and I have a 60-gallon, so I've definitely got a good 20 gallons in my sump, maybe more. Should probably measure that one day. So the GFO says to use 1 tablespoon per 8 gallons of system water. So I do the math with 70 gallons. So that means that I have about 8 or so tablespoons. 9 maybe. Just doing the math quickly in my head. Again, I don't get too caught up on the numbers because I don't know exactly how much water I have in my tank. It would be nice to figure that out one day. So 8 or 9 tablespoons is roughly about half a cup. So I just, probably a little bit more than half a cup, but this is what I've been putting in, and that's what keeps it controlled. So that's what I'll keep using. So it kind of looks like coffee grinds. So put this down in the bottom. Should probably get a funnel at some point so that way I don't spill it as badly. Take a sponge, sit it on top. I take the next piece, put it on top of here, and then I take the very top and pop it on. It's in here. I take my lid and I screw it on. Probably be easier if I spun the canister instead of the top. So that's my GFO ready to go. I've got to rinse it still. I'll show you how I rinse it in a little bit. Carbon next. So you want to try and keep the carbon as tight as possible. So I've not been very successful yet in keeping my sponges in one place. So every time I do this, I've experimented with where to put them. The problem is that inevitably my sponges fall some. So this time I'm going to try and put the sponges all the way at the bottom again. And I'm going to take so it's almost the same math. This is 1 tablespoon per 8 gallons, and this is 1 tablespoon per 10 gallons. So that means you're probably using a little bit more GFO than carbon. The nice thing is you don't change the GFO as often as you need to change the carbon. So even though you're using more carbon than GFO, more GFO than carbon. So you use more GFO than carbon, but you don't change as often. So it's a trade-off. So I do about the same thing. It's similar math. My tank is not that big. That means I need about 7 tablespoons. 7 tablespoons is a little bit less than half a cup, so I just scoop some out. Again, not perfect math. This is kind of what works for you. Half cup measuring cup. Put it in here. And I use my hand to kind of try and direct it in there. I'm going to take my sponge and I'm going to smush it down. It'll probably rise a little bit still. I've not been able to figure this out. Keep it from moving around. I might one day just buy a bunch of sponge and stuff it down in there so there's no place for it to move. I didn't do a good job of that. So I do have some RODI water in the squirt bottle that I'm going to use to just kind of get the carbon down at the bottom. Probably need to go fill it up some. That's good enough. You can see most of it's off the walls. And this is why I did that, by the way. So you see the sponge kind of got a lot of carbon on the side. So all right, so now I'm gonna get my sponge down in there again. And I still did the same thing. This is where if I had some more sponge, it would be nice because then I wouldn't have that issue that I have right now. Don't worry, I'll do it one of these days. Put this, the top piece in again. Show y'all. It just fits right in there with this little tube. Not sure if y'all can see it. There's a little hand finger hold right there, so you can get it in there. Get the pieces of carbon off the side because it does not like to sit in there if there's anything on this lip. All right, in there, this fits, just sticks right in. Drop it into my reactor and screw it on. Much easier doing it that way. Close this, and I typically go ahead and go put it away because I like to have things put away. When I built this stand, I got an extra door so that way I could access the side of the stand, not just the front. So that should make it a little bit nicer for you guys to see what I'm doing. So my water comes in through my sump, and I should probably do a video on this at some point, but my water comes in to my sump through the back here. You can see these tubes, and flows over through my filter sock and through this way. Now this used to be my built-in ATO, and it's just really small, as y'all can see. It's I think maybe does 6 liters. So I was constantly filling it up. So I just actually ordered a new ATO canister or ATO reservoir, so that way I can get a little bit more time between needing to fill up the ATO. So what I have doing is I have 2 pumps back here that come up through here. This was just how I could get a little bit more water volume. And into this compartment here. Now what I'm about to do is take those 2 reactors and put in the front area, which is right here. Not sure if y'all can see my hand. So it'll just be sitting right here in the front, and I'll show y'all whenever I get done. I'll show you the front, what it looks like. So they'll just be sitting here. So those tubes will, instead of just pumping into this area, they're gonna pump through the reactor, and then the reactor is gonna shoot it back here. And then this goes over into where my skimmer is. So let me switch to Apex so that I can turn off those pumps so that I can not have water shooting everywhere. Alright, so I have my reactors right here, and I have my Marco's Rocks mortar kit, which is just an empty white bucket, and it makes me so happy I didn't actually mix the mortar in here, because whenever I make sure that I let some water flow through my GFO and my carbon to make sure that there's no dust on it, I have a nice clean white bucket so I can make sure that the water is coming out as clear. So now that those are off, I like to put my GFO closer to the inside, and that's the one that I have marked on my Trident as being GFO. So I know this is GFO because I don't have a sponge at the bottom or at the top like I do for my carbons, so my carbon doesn't move. So I need to get a second camera, I guess, so y'all can see what I'm doing. So I'm sitting this reactor inside. I'm going to take this tube. What I might do is turn it around for the other side for the carbon so y'all can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to take this tube and I'm going to attach it to my GFO. So that's attached. And I'm going to take my bucket over here and rinse it. I can kind of see what I'm doing, maybe this way. And have the output for the reactor come through in this bucket. So as soon as I started that, it started shooting out, of course. So I have it's rinsing the GFO right now. And the nice thing is, because I put this valve here, I can make it come out as fast or slow as I want. So it's been going for a little bit. So you see the color. I'm gonna go dump it out so I can see if I'm getting clear now or if there's still some fines. Mostly empty bucket. I should be able to tell if there's still fines or not coming out. So, pretty clear now. My pump's probably about to start turning off because I'm pulling water out of the tank. I'll have to fill it back up with some salt water in a little bit. Float switch is amazing. Alright, so that's off. And it's pretty clear. So what I'm going to do now is to turn this around and stick it into this compartment. I'm going to make sure that it's moving or coming out just enough so that the carbon looks like it's boiling a little. Not the carbon, the GFO. I want the GFO to look like it's boiling a little. And I'll show you that in a little bit what that looks like. It might be too fast. Alright, so I like that speed. So I'm going to put that into that compartment. It'd be nice if I had a stand or something right here to hold these. Right now they're just sitting there. Alright, I'm going to dump this bucket again. Alright, so I brought y'all around a little bit so you can see what's going on in my sump on this side. So you can see the water comes through here. Now my carbon is already off. So what I'm going to do is just set this container right here. So this is my GFO, this is my carbon. I'm going to take this tube out. And I probably need to get some more elbows for these connectors. I think it would connect a little bit better. I'm going to push this in, make sure I get it in all the way. Otherwise it can leak a little. And because I don't want this moving at all, I'm going to start a lot lower with this when I turn it on. So I'm going to go into Apex right now and turn it on. Alright, so because I had this turned off, a little bit of water came in, but not much, so you can see hopefully what happens a little bit better here. Whenever I slowly start to add, so it's got probably about this amount of water in here right now. The pressure from this being stopped made the pump not be allowed to pump any more water through. So it's probably going to come out quickly whenever I first turn it on. So there's some pressure built up. So you see the water starts flowing. I'm checking for leaks to make sure there's not any leaks. So I'm gonna pick up the pace just a little bit. So I don't want the carbon moving. And that's because you don't want the carbon moving against itself. When the carbon's moving against itself, it can break out and go into the tank. The GFO, on the other hand, if it's not allowed to move, it can solidify, and then it's no longer pulling phosphate and anything else that you might want it to pull out of the tank. So one of the nice things about the ROX is that it comes out pretty clear. It's not a very dirty carbon. Not sure if y'all can see in the bucket. I'm trying to get it where y'all can see. So there's really not much color here. So me doing this is just making sure everything is working fine. So I'm going to turn it back off, and I'm going to remember about where I had it. Because it's pretty darn clear. Now, I would cut it up higher, but the issue I've had is that whenever it comes up higher, the pressure of the water pushes these sponges up, and then I have this big gap between my sponges, and my carbon can move about anywhere that it wants to, which I don't want. So I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to rotate this around. And I'm going to turn it up about where I had it again. And stick it on in there. And my reactors are put together. I see my shoes for Halloween are back here. I should have probably picked those up. Right, and you can start to hear that the filter is struggling a little. I'm surprised that it hasn't turned off from the from being too low, but I guess the float switch isn't bothered by that. So I'm going to go get some. My ATO is probably going. That's probably what the issue is. So I'm going to go get my. All right. So here, this is connected to my water station outside. I have a pretty weak pump that I got. So it doesn't come out super fast, which is fine. I don't know if y'all can see it at all. So it's pretty much a trickle, but I'll just fill up what I used. So while I'm down here, I'm gonna go ahead and empty my skimmer. There's not a whole lot in here, but I'm down here, so no reason not to. It's probably it's not quite to the 0.5 liter marks. So I like this Red Sea skimmer a lot for my setup. I don't have a whole lot of space under here. I wanted to keep this drawer, so this skimmer just fits underneath it. And if I need to get to it, I can pull out this drawer, and it's fully accessible. Gives me a good 8 inches to work with. All right, so just turn this into this bucket. See all the grossness? Oh, it smells bad. Alright, so that's handled. I've got some more freshly made salt water going into the sump to replace that I pulled out whenever I was making sure that my carbon and the GFO was clean. Get rid of all the fines, and I'll be done. So I'm not sure how well you can see in here, but my goal is to have this look like it's slightly boiling. Oh, there, you can kind of see it. So it's moving around a little bit because I don't want it to turn into one solid block. That's about how I like to have the GFO moving. If I'm doing it wrong, please tell me. The sponge is up a little bit higher, so it has room to move. My carbon, on the other hand, I have like a sponge sandwich. So you can see my carbon's not moving at all. I do have a little bit of gap in there, so I guess it is moving a little. Like I said, I've not been able to figure out how to keep the sponges tight. Probably just need to buy more. If anybody has any idea how to do that, please let me know. I would love to come up with or do it better. Again, I've tried it up high. Whenever I try it up high, it always falls. The bottom one falls. So I'm either dealing with gravity making it fall, or the pressure of the water going up making it rise. So haven't quite figured that out yet. So thank you for following along. If it's just me watching this again because I forgot how to do this, then good job for keeping your reactors cleaned and maintaining your tank. If there's other people watching, I hope that this is helpful. Please let me know in the comments if I need to do anything differently. Like I said, I'm always up for doing it better. And I hope this is helpful. If it is, make sure you like the video, subscribe, hit the bell so that way you can get notified whenever I do more videos. And thank you very much for watching.